TheBlueBroadcastNetwork.com, home of the Blue Room Podcast.
Talk about defund the police. Now, how crazy can that be? Anybody thinks that there shouldn't be police on the street? You know, it's absurd.
The same ones that we're talking about defunding are like, my constituents don't feel like there's enough police. Like, wait.
Yeah, they're not handling jobs.
Right. And you know what always comes to my head? What did you think was going to happen?
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, what did you think was going to happen?
I don't understand. We're the only country that we're hearing this phrase, defund the police. You don't hear that in Europe. You don't hear that in India. You don't hear that in Japan. Why here? Why? They're letting the activists on the street guide policy, and it shouldn't be that way. Look, how many times have you heard elected officials, like in our city council in the city, say, "I'm an activist legislator"? Yeah, I've heard of that.
You're a lawmaker. So you're supposed to take the evidence. You're supposed to take what's being said in the street. You're supposed to go back inside and quiet and deliberate over the truth, and then come up with: do we need to change the law? Do we need to make a law? And that's not what they're doing. And
exactly.
And it all goes to the demonization of police officers.
It's by pure emotions.
Well, it's a lot easier to write a new law than it is to fix the one that's there.
Right.
And they do it all the time. They're like, we're not going to amend this, or we're not going to try to enforce this. We're just going to write another one that overrides that and makes the job even harder.
That's right.
Like, well, why don't we work on what's here? The same board, the same assembly in New York State passed a law a year ago, and it's not working. So instead of fixing that, we're going to write a new one that wipes that out, but then makes it even harder. Mm-hmm. Like, just you guys wrote the freaking law. You guys passed it. Find a way to enforce it. The problem is that, especially in New York, is that Cuomo runs the ship. Cuomo, like with the SAFE Act, he presented it to the assembly on a Friday afternoon. The freaking act is like the size of the patrol guide. They had to read that over the weekend and vote on a Monday.
Wow.
They didn't read that thing.
That's right. How many jobs can you have? You say you voted on something, and then when it goes bad, say, well, I didn't read it. Well, that means you didn't do your job.
You didn't do your job.
Right. We couldn't do that in the police department. Well, I'm sorry, boss. I didn't look at it. Well, then you'd be in trouble, and then you'd be getting disciplined.
When they said you couldn't have more than 10 rounds in a magazine, right? Cops carry 15. So for a year, every New York City police officer was committing a felony by carrying 15 rounds in the magazine. It took a year for them to change that. For Cuomo to go, oh, you know what, we missed that. So hold on. So the whole assembly that claimed to have read it or didn't read it missed that? No, they just voted on it because the dictator said, hey, this is what's going. It was a response to Sandy Hook. This is what we're doing.
I like that. Well done. I picked up on it.
And dropped it in front of them, and they all, because the sheep just follow. The sheep just follow.
That's right.
And they just signed off on it. Realized, we missed that. How do we miss? You missed it because you didn't read it. Right. Simple as that. And you hit it right on the head, though, when you talked about the president earlier, that the union, which is very vocal in their local elections, took an unprecedented stance and said, hey, we need to get behind the current president. We need to get behind President Trump because this is not a local problem. This is a federal, this is a global
national
problem. It really is. And and by doing that, I think the FOP got on board, and lots of other unions that normally wouldn't have made that declaration have done so, because they realize this isn't about my department. This isn't about New York City. This isn't about New Jersey, Jersey City, Newark. This is the whole country. The law enforcement community as a whole is being destroyed. And if you don't have someone at the top that's looking out for you, then you've got nothing.
Well, it's like Sheriff Clark said. We should be apolitical, but we've been dragged into this. We have no choice now.
It's about an attack on the profession, and you have to look at our jobs as a profession.
Yeah.
You're professional police officers. We've professionalized ourselves. We've gotten our training to make us better at the job. We learn from past mistakes, and they're not allowing us to take that training, take our skill, take what we know, and do the job. So you're seeing law enforcement groups across the country saying, wait, something has to be done. It has to stop now. And we need a strong voice that will speak common sense. And that's not what's happening. People are talking around what the problem is. You ever see a politician, you ask them a question, and you start talking. By the end of it, you don't know what they said.
Yeah.
Right? This is
like Joe Biden.
Policing is not difficult. It's common sense.
And from a union perspective, I remember back in the day when something had to be said. It wasn't like the trustees or the welfare officers coming in. It was the union delegate saying, "Hey, come here, go talk to that guy. Hey, we got to talk to him." All right, so we talked to him. We set that straight. Those days are gone.
Well, you had senior police officers teaching the younger police officers. You learn it in the book, you learn it in the academy, and that's all important. But then you learn how to finesse a job, how to talk to people. You learn that from a senior police officer. Now they're all leaving.
Yep.
So who's going to teach the newer police officers? Look, the new police officers are talented. They're smart. They don't get enough credit for the atmosphere they're working in. But you still need a little gray hair to teach you the right way to do it.
You need a little grit. Right. You need to be able to take back, quote unquote, take back the streets, but not in a violent manner, but just you're the authority.
You're joining a noble profession. Every day, everything you do, you are making a difference. You can make more money in a different job. You can go to a job that's safe. But at the end of the day, can you say you made a difference? Every day a cop comes to work, you make a difference. The smallest job, the one kid you see on the corner, and you stop and talk to them, and you interact with them, they're going to look at you with all your battle regalia, and you might change a kid's mind to say, you know what, I want to be like them.
Currently today, like I have a 14-year-old who says, oh, I'd like to be a cop. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know where, I say to her, and she's brilliant. I say, well, if you can come out of the academy and become the police commissioner, I will give you my nod of approval. Mm-hmm. Would you give the same advice to your kids today? If you had a 16 or 17-year-old son or daughter, or maybe 20, that took the test, would your advice today be the same that you gave your sons, X amount of years ago?
I would tell them, like I said earlier, it's a noble profession. Every day you make a difference in people's lives, and someone has to do that job. Look, in this job, you may get hurt. You may get jammed up. That all may happen. I don't think we give enough credit to the new generation of police officers. They're smarter than we give them credit to.
I think you're
They're
right.
out there doing a difficult job. You can have time on the job a little bit, and you can get a little jaded and say, they're not as good as us. You should have been here yesterday. The job is, an S word as compared to what it was. But it's their job, and we need them. We need good, working, honest people. We talked about good and evil. We need good, middle class, working class people that are willing to take this job, willing to do it, willing to fight back. Look, you go back to the cops in the 70s when I was growing up, they were doing everything with nothing. And they were great cops. There wasn't enough of them. Crime was out of control. But you know what? Every day they slid behind the wheel of the radio car, and they pushed through our neighborhoods, and they did it, and they brought the city back into the 80s, into the 90s. We can do that again. If we discourage our family members from coming into this noble profession, and it's a profession, it's not a job, it's a profession, then who's going to do it from there? We have to help them. We have to teach them. Just because you're not active, you may be retired, guide them, help them. The union will be there for them too. We all have to do our part, but we have to keep telling their stories.
The BlueBroadcastNetwork.com, home of the Blue Room Podcast.